All right, I think we're starting. We're streaming there, I believe.
Yep, we are.
It
says starting right now, so it'll switch to live in a sec here. I'll tell you when it does that. Let me know when
the film supposed to pop up.
Yeah, it will when I'll put it up.
Okay, cool.
All right, so we are officially live on YouTube. Let's give them, let's say, 2 minutes to filter in here on YouTube because that normally get the most views on YouTube, and then we'll go from. You got Periscope going yet, Drew?
Yep, I'm just about to do it right now.
Okay, sounds good. Do you have YouTube pulled up right now, Drew? Like you should pause that. You should mute that. I think. So you can kind of hear it in the background.
I do. Hold on. I gotta get this set up. It's bad. I have Periscope pulled up in the background, so I'm trying to because I can hear you like 5 seconds later, and it's really confusing for me. So
yeah, I got you. Periscope isn't on the Twitter yet.
All right.
Filter. All right, we're up. We got some people in here from YouTube. What's up, guys? Good to see you again. Is Periscope live yet?
In like 3 seconds.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess while we're waiting, since we do have some people in here.
All right, we're now live on Periscope. So.
Excellent. All right. So we're all set here. Okay, folks. So obviously the Vikings aren't playing this week, so the About the Labor pregame show is the About the Labor midweek show here. So what we're going to be doing for about the next 45 minutes or so is just breaking down some film clips that I found interesting from the Cleveland Browns game. We've got our boy here from Climb the Pocket. He also works at Vikings territories. What don't you do? This is Jordan Reid here at J Reid Draft Scout on the Twitter machine. If you're not following him already, make sure you're doing that. He's in here to help us break down some film. How are you doing today, Jordan?
Good, man. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely, dude. We're happy to have you on here. So like I said, we're going to just be breaking down film for the most part here. Maybe some talking points towards the end, obviously, with Teddy Bridgewater coming back, but that kind of depends on where we're at with time. So what I went through here for film this week was I tried to get, a lot of Case Keenum here, some good, some bad, and then I obviously have some good and some bad from the from the Vikings defense as well. As always, for those of you guys that are watching on Periscope, YouTube, all that stuff, fire in your comments, your takes, whatever, and if we'll hopefully see him and we can talk about it on the show. If you have any questions for Jordan, this is the time to ask him now as well. We'll try to get to as many of those as possible. So let's start here with a quick word from our sponsor, and then we'll get into it. Talking about Shamrock's Irish Pub once again today. Great food, great booze, it's a great atmosphere for game time. They shuttle to Wild games, shuttle to Minnesota Vikings games, live music on Saturdays and Sundays, sometimes on Fridays as well. The place is, it's got an arcade in the back as well. If you've got kids and you need, to slough them off on someone, this is, a great place to watch a football game, watch a Wild game, whatever it is for you guys. Shamrock's Irish Pub, downtown St. Paul, 995 West 7th Street. And make sure to check out that Paul Molitor burger. I'm a big fan of it. That's what I've been getting lately. And make sure to use my secret sauce here, drizzling that the pepper jack cheese from the inside onto the waffle fries. So that's Shamrock's Irish Pub, and let's talk some Vikings football here. Starting with, let's start with the defense because the defense was so impressive, and then we'll get into some Case, and then obviously I just imagine that's going to extend into Teddy Bridgewater eventually. That's kind of how things work on the show. So let's start first with this Isaiah Crowell touchdown because this was really the one moment in this game for the Vikings, obviously, that did not go well at all. A lot of different things went wrong here. Crowell ends up getting in for 28 yards out. I know a lot of Vikings fans on Twitter were pretty upset about this play, talking about going back to bed. So, Jordan, since you are our guest, why don't you be the first one here? Taking a quick look at it here, what are you seeing on this play? I know Anthony Harris obviously misses the key tackle here, but what are you seeing on this play that kind of springs Isaiah Crowell free and hurts the Vikings defense on this play?
Yeah, so the first thing that you notice is that the Vikings are in a 4-down defensive front, and what that means is there's 4 down linemen up front with their hand in the ground, and there's 2 linebackers, Eric Kendricks being the Mike and Anthony Barr being the Sam linebacker on that play. What they're trying to do, they're trying to bring Anthony Barr off the edge there. And so Everson Griffin is responsible for the B gap there, and Anthony Barr is responsible for the outside C gap. What happens is Eric Kendricks guesses wrong here, as you can see, as he jumps outside. Yep. Everson Griffin doesn't squeeze his B gap, and he gets sealed off there by the offensive tackle. So if they do end up missing,
that's going to create that hole right there, which we have it. I believe I have it freeze framed right now, where Corral just obviously finds that hole. And as Jordan's talking about here, as soon as that block gets sealed and Kendricks guesses wrong, gives Corral an opportunity to make someone miss. And then obviously a lot of other things go wrong. Harris misses the tackle here, and it's off to the races for Corral.
So Anthony Harris's whole objective on that play is to just clean up if any mistakes are made as the free safety. Obviously, he misses the tackle right there, and he's the last line of defense. So if he misses the tackle, it's a walk-in touchdown.
Drew, what are you seeing here on this play? Obviously, your boy Anthony Harris. We knew this coming into the game. we know this about Anthony Harris coming into the game, that tackling is not necessarily his strongest trait. Obviously, he's more of a zone cover corner that excels when he can use his instincts. That's what he was best at Virginia. In my personal opinion, when I was looking at his film, that has always been the case for me. He's always been an undersized safety to some degree. So Drew, kind of stemming off of what we're talking about here, I saw a lot of people reference, if Anderson Dejo is in there, that play gets made. Is this a situation where this is really kind of on Anthony Harris for blowing this play, or is this, I guess, a replacement level play where this is kind of an expectation for someone as a backup?
Well, I mean, it's not just on Harris. I think the Corral got to the second level for, like Jordan said, Griffin didn't close the B gap. Kendricks got strong. There's obviously a number of different things that, led to the touchdown. But, I would expect Sendejo to make that play, or at least slow him down a little bit better to allow Harrison Smith to come over and make the play. I don't know. It's one of those things where it's not, like you said, it's not Harris' strong suit. He came in with a pretty bad angle there, and really Corral didn't have to do very much to make him miss there either, that's kind of disappointing. But I think that has to be one of the longest runs the Vikings have given up this year. So we're looking at pretty much an anomaly here when you look at the grand scheme of the season.
Absolutely, I believe that is the longest run. Correct me if I'm wrong. This game had a couple of extremes for the Vikings. Obviously, Xavier Rhodes also allowed his longest reception of the season, that 38-yarder down the sideline. I guess was it like Ricardo Lewis or something like that, that finally burned Xavier Rhodes for the first time this year. That was something. So on the flip side here, obviously the defense performed at a high level in the second half. A lot of that came from the interior pass rush. The exterior pass rush started collapsing better. As soon as the Browns had to get away from their quick snap offense, the defense started crashing downhill, and we saw a lot of big plays being made. So let's start with this one right here. This is, the reason why I want to highlight this play in particular is because Linval Joseph is going to be the one that gets the sack here. But check out Trey Waynes in coverage, how he responds to the comeback route. Check out Xavier Rhodes at the top of your screen. Just look at this beauty of a play from the all-22 angle here. This is a coverage sack, in my opinion, where Linval Joseph not only does his job, but the Vikings defense as a whole kind of collectively earned this sack, and it ends up being Linval that shows up on the stat sheet. Jordan, are you seeing this kind of the same type of thing as I am here, or what is it about Linval Joseph on this play that makes that becomes the difference for the Vikings? This came on fourth down as well, I believe. Oh no, this was
yes,
sorry, this one
third
did.
Down.
This one did third down. Okay, yeah, third down sack. Third down sack.
Yeah, it definitely was a game-changing play for the Vikings. So what you see here is on the back end, they're in a 3 boundary coverage. So all it is cover 3, and the boundary just means that the safety rolling down to the boundary is going to be the guy that's coming down. So that's why it's called cover 3 boundary. And Harrison Smith is that guy that's coming down. So Hugh Jackson here is trying to run, it looks like a dig with the shallow crosser as well. So he's trying to attack the middle of the field and put the linebackers in a bind. So Kaiser's read here is, if they go with the dig, the shallow route, or the sit route right there in front of the backer should be open. If they come down on the sit route, the dig should be open over the middle. And what you see is the dig comes open, but Linval Joseph does a great job of pushing the pocket up the middle and Kaiser is shielded and disabled to see that. So just a great job by Linval Joseph of pushing the interior of the pocket.
You look at the back end of this play here, and you can see that, as you said, as he comes wide open on that dig route, the safety, I believe it's Anthony Harris once again here, is probably late getting over. This is a play that you'd expect your safety to read it maybe a little bit better. Obviously, the play is designed to beat over the middle, obviously, so he's at a disadvantage inherently. But here, if Kaiser is able to, see over the top of the offensive line, as Jordan said, and is, able to get maybe a second longer, and maybe the difference here is Joe Thomas being in the game potentially. This play could go for 6 for sure. Drew, again, what are you seeing on this play? Anything that you want to add here?
Well, see, I always have to go after Jordan, and then he breaks it down phenomenally, and then he leaves me pretty much nothing to work with. But I don't know. I do think that I'm going to kind of allude to something overall for the season, and that's that I think Linval Joseph's pass rushing has been a bit underrated. And I think Pro Football Focus released something today, kind of alluding to that. But we see his what he does against the run most prominently, but I think what he does as a pass rusher for a guy his size is it's got to be up there with the best in the league, and I think we need to appreciate that because here's a perfect example, and I think he does this more often than we noticed. He just doesn't get the sack where he collapses the pocket, forces the QB to move, and then that's where Everson Griffin will get a sack. That's where Danielle Hunter will get a sack. I think that sack that Hunter had against the Ravens, I think, was also partly due because, when Flacco tried to step up, he couldn't go forward, and he had to move to the right where Hunter was right there waiting for him. So I think credit needs to be given here to Linval Joseph a little bit more for the season as a whole. Absolutely.
Linval Joseph, we just talked about this on one of our on our mid-season award show, the part 1. We were talking about how Linval Joseph probably didn't get enough love in that defensive MVP for the Vikings poll that we threw up, just because you don't always see the type of damage that he's able to do. But when you look back at the film here, it shows up blatantly that how big of how important of a piece he is for the Vikings, and just basically arguably one of the best interior nose tackles in the league. You can make an argument for a couple of other guys, but Linval's definitely in the conversation. Here's another play. This is going to be another sack that comes. I believe this is the one that came on 4th down that basically put the nail in the coffin for the Vikings. Everson Griffin is going to extend his streak here. I wanted to talk about this particular play for a couple of different reasons. First of all, Drew and I had the conversation, so I want to get your point of view on this, Jordan, about, as kind of a little bit of a joke, but does Harrison Smith sort of lay the sack here to give Everson Griffin the opportunity to extend his streak? Because you see Harrison Smith crash hard. It looks like he's going to make the play about right here, and then all of a sudden Kaiser comes free. And I know he's got some Ben Roethlisberger to him in terms of being tough to bring down, but he falls right into Everson Griffin's arms. Yeah. What are you seeing on this play, Jordan?
It's kind of the whole Brett Favre falling for Michael Strahan thing.
Right.
As far as in the streak, but I definitely see the same thing that you guys see. But what we have on this play here is it's a zone dog blitz. So what Mike Zimmer is doing, he's overloading the man side of the offensive line's protection. So basically, to break it down, in pass protection, there's always a slide side and there's a man side. So what you see here is the center, the right guard, and the right tackle are sliding, and the left guard and the left tackle are man on. But Mike Zimmer is bringing an overload. Obviously, he's bringing 4 guys to that side, to their 2.
Yep.
So somebody's going to get free. If we're counting the running back coming in pass protection, it's 4 versus 3 here. So it's designed to overload that side. And something that's really great here is what he does. If you notice Eric Kendricks, he goes to the single receiver side up top. And what are a lot of offenses' answers to overload blitzes is running hot routes. And what Eric Kendricks is doing is if they run a quick slant or a quick route up top, he's just going to undercut it. So I think this was really great right here. And obviously his man coverage on the back end. So I just love seeing Mike Zimmer's blitz designs and just how he counter reacts to offensive schemes. So this is really good right here.
Absolutely. Drew, once again, It looks like Jordan kind of hung out. You can go first next time. What else are you seeing on this play? I mean, honestly, dude, that's a tremendous breakdown right there. Is there anything else that you can add to here that Jordan didn't already do?
I'm trying. Okay, so it looks like does Anthony Barr run that back here? Yeah. So Anthony Barr. Okay. So he is that Kendricks or Barr that kind of was that the line of scrimmage initially, and then drops back into coverage. I'm sure that's part of the disguise that Zimmer and company put together to kind of throw off. Obviously, this is something that's a regular kind of occurrence for Mike Zimmer and company. But bringing all those guys up the line of scrimmage and then dropping 2 or 3 or all of them maybe, and that in that way that kind of helps the overload, because where Kendricks then goes over to that side of the field to help out in coverage and the underneath stuff. So that's just another piece of the disguise here from Zimmer. He overloaded one side and he brought another guy over for insurance and coverage in that area. But yeah, it's kudos to Zimmer here. But I think Harrison Smith is obviously so incredibly gifted as a blitzer. Everson Griffin beat his man as well. That's just what it is. It's good football play by the Vikings, and obviously a lot of people deserve credit. Jordan already told you about that.
I keep kind of zoning in here on Eric Kendricks kind of falling out into zone coverage and that's flat. And
I can't find the word to describe what he does, but yeah, that was something that I didn't notice initially watching that play. So this is just another perfect example of if you watch a play enough times, you're eventually going to find nuances that you didn't notice before, and that Kendricks there, in my opinion, kind of works as a safety valve against them dropping off, a screen to the left side of the field or something like that, and you trust him as a tackler to come up and make that play in the event that your defensive design doesn't work out to the opposite side of the field where the play went to. So let's move over to the offensive side of the ball here. In particular, I tried to get as much Case Keenum stuff here because that has kind of been the debate moving forward. Does it make more sense to keep Case Keenum in the game because he's been winning, or has he been winning as a product of the Vikings defense, a solid running game, very good receivers, all of those different things? So I want to take a look at some of the plays that worked well for Case Keenum, in my opinion, and some of them that didn't work well, not the obvious ones. So the touchdown throws were obviously beautiful throws, but this play in particular, this is the duck that I talked about on the last podcast. Basically, Drew, I'll let you break this one down ahead of Jordan, but basically Stephon Diggs is going to run a 9 down the sideline here, or excuse me, he's going to run a comeback. That is not
sorry, it's a comeback. It's a comeback. Sorry, he's running. It's my bad. I was predicting instead of reading it. So he's going to run a comeback, and this pass by Keenum just is not thrown in there hot enough. That's my gripe on this play, is that obviously it's a completion. Obviously you get the first down, but this is a play where you expect more from your quarterback. He's got to get that ball in faster, not leave Diggs hung out to dry, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is kind of one of those where, this is a tough throw too. It's the opposite hash, and he's throwing all the way across the field. But at the same time, it is kind of a duck here, and you have a guy in your face, and I get that. But this is this is a split second for me to pick 6. It's just throwing that side of the field is obviously very risky when you got to give props to Diggs for getting that much separation on the route, because if he doesn't, that's probably a contested, if not intercepted pass. And I'm trying to look at all these other receivers. I don't see any other clear option besides the Jerick McKinnon check down that would have been, a good option here for Keenum to throw to. So good for him to making the right decision, I think. It's just you got to put either some more weight behind the throw. I can't really tell from here what the mechanics look like. Jordan's probably way better at that than I am. But regardless, the throw wasn't necessarily risky as much as he just needed to put some more sauce on it, and if he did, it wouldn't be nearly as talked about as what we're doing right now.
All right, quarterback doctor, let's hear what you have to say about Case Keenum on this play.
So I'm gonna give you guys a couple terms here. So here they're in cover 3. There's one deep safety. So just to put it in quarterback's terms here, so you're either going to get middle of the field open or middle of the field closed here. So if there's one deep safety in the middle, it's middle of the field closed. If you get 2 deep safeties, it's middle of the field open. So here, Shermer thought he probably was going to get middle of the field open here with 2 safeties deep since it's 3rd and long. So Diggs in the slot, or Thielen in the slot, he's running a divider here. So he thought he was going to get middle of the field open. Thielen's whole objective here was just to split the safeties. He know he's not going to get the ball here. So they're running comebacks here on the outside, basically chain movers. So their whole objective on this play is to get to the sticks or the first down marker and just sit there. Keenum's read here, he has to notice that it's middle of the field closed. So the divider automatically is dead. He can't throw that because obviously there's a guy sitting in the middle of the field and he can't throw it to Thielen. Otherwise, it's going to be an interception right to the safety. So now he has to find the safety to the field here and the linebacker, both of the guys sitting on the numbers. He has to see which comeback leverage on. Now, once he sees which one he has the most leverage on, that's the one he needs to throw. And that's what he does here.
Right there. So, as Drew said, and before Jordan broke it down piece by piece for you, he does make the correct read on this play. This is a situation where, as Drew mentioned before as well, that McKinnon comes out of the backfield. You got that safety valve there. That becomes a yak situation. He's got to break a tackle probably. You see a lot of space where I've got it freeze frame for McKinnon here. But that safety could come up quick and make a good. It might actually be a linebacker. Linebacker could come up quick there. The read here is it's perfect. But Drew, Jordan, are you with me in saying that this pass is probably sailed a little bit? It's not like he's got to get more on this throw if you're going to be running comebacks down the sideline, especially with safety help.
Definitely. Now, these are the type of throws that Shermer has stayed away from Keenum as well, because he's done a great job of scheming around his limitations. And, I mean, let's be honest, guys, throwing comebacks all the way to the field is just something that's not one of Keenum's strong suits. But it is third and long here, so he has to call a longer developing pass, but he does end up getting it there, luckily.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to another Case Keenum shot here. This one is, in my opinion, one of his better throws that he made, one of his better reads. Basically, this is a play where Adam Thielen is going to come up the right. He's at the bottom of your screen for the for those watching on the YouTube or the Periscope screen. He's at the bottom of your screen. He's going to come up and he's basically going to sit in a soft zone here. And Keenum is going to anticipate the cut and make basically a good read and a hell of a throw. And Thielen's also going to help him out a little bit with this catch. So overall, in my opinion, this was a very good play by Case Keenum. Both cerebrally and doing good arm talent on this play. Good. I mean, I guess not on this play, but this is a good example of what he's capable of doing, at his peak. This is a good throw for me. This is a good read. Everything he does well here from a tangible and intangible perspective. Drew, I'll go back to you on here. What are you seeing from Keenum on this play? What are you seeing from Adam Thielen that's helping him out? Pass protection obviously pretty solid here too. Overall, what are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, from this angle, I can't quite tell what Keenum is. I mean, where his eyes are, but it looks a little bit like he does look his eyes to Rudolph in the middle of the field to keep that linebacker there briefly and just enough time to open that window for Thielen right across the first down marker. Obviously takes advantage of the, too soft coverage that Cleveland plays here to get that first down. But I mean, and this is the thing that I said this on the last show. The two things with Keenum that I've noticed that are pros for him: pocket movement. I think he's been pretty good there. And the pocket's obviously been there too. That's also kudos to the offensive line. But also, I think he's pretty good at making good decisions. And here he does. He times it perfectly to where the throw is past the sticks, but also it's in time and it's before the defense can get there. And again, it looks to me like with the way that linebacker is playing there, he's frozen a little bit by Keenum's eyes before making that throw. But that's a good throw by Keenum. I for one did not expect the Vikings to convert a 3rd and 15. I did not expect that to happen in this game, at least from the start of this game. And kudos to Keenum for making that throw.
Absolutely, Jordan. Over to you. What are you seeing on this play?
Yeah, so pre-snap. This goes back to the last pass. We talk about middle of the field open, middle of the field closed. It initially starts middle of the field open, so you have two safeties deep. Once the ball is snapped, they rotate to middle of the field closed, so you get safety rotation. You get a guy coming down to the boundary here. So Keenum knows right away that he should go away from that safety rotation and find the guy that's in the soft spot now. So his read here should go to Diggs, the outside. Diggs is on the outside, I believe, here, and Thielen in the slot. So both of those guys' objectives are to get 15 yards at the sticks and just sit it down in the soft zone. And he finds the soft zone. Just a great job by Keenum seeing the safety rotation and finding Adam Thielen.
Is this so? You see at the end of the play here that it looks like Diggs was probably going to be an option on this play as well. I guess from your perspective, Jordan, do you think that would you have thrown Thielen or Diggs here? Obviously, part of the issue here is that the safety comes over to Thielen, which kind of tosses up possibly how open Diggs is on this play. But in your opinion, do you see this as the correct read on this play, throwing to Thielen instead of Diggs?
Yeah, I think it's the right one. And, I mean, third down, it's a heavy blitz down. We all know that. 3rd and 15, they're probably not going to send pressure. So there's not really a full field read progression here just because 9 times out of 10 they're going to send blitz on 3rd down. But it is 3rd and 15, and he understands that he's not going to have a lot of time to get this ball out. The pocket isn't really collapsing on him here. So, I mean, it was the right read going with this first option.
Is that a play? So kind of to help Treadwell's case, I guess. I believe he was the third receiver on that play. Is this a play where he's basically, just clearing the field for Keenum? Like, he's not even a read on this play, because you see Keenum look to the bottom of the field. It looks like he, like you said, with the blitz likely coming, he's going to have two reads on that play. It's going to be Diggs or Thielen, and Treadwell basically at the top of your screen is not even a real option. Am I seeing that? Is that an excuse for Treadwell's, lack of production, I guess, to some degree, or is that babying him a little bit?
Not really. I think third down is all about trust with the quarterback, in my opinion. A lot of times you see a lot of teams, they go to certain guys on third down. So it's really all about trust. We see that a lot with Jarius Wright as well. He seems to be very confident with going to Jarius Wright on third down, just because there's guys you trust to get open when you need to convert to get a first down. And he felt that way with Adam Thielen. And, I don't blame him. Thielen is a very reliable guy. And, he got him the first down on 3rd and 15 right there. So I don't think it's a knock on Treadwell or anything like that. But we did see, the safety rotate down to his side. So right away he knows to go to the opposite side on that, because there's just not any room to throw over there since the safety rotated down. So he went to the opposite side.
Okay.
Jordan, I got a question for you before we get to this next clip. As a whole, then, I'm kind of going to allude to BJ's question about Treadwell. It seems like most of the year, especially when Diggs is healthy, it's kind of been the progression has been Diggs and Thielen 1-2. It seems like, and maybe it's just because they're the ones getting open and Keenum recognized that, or do you think that's part of the game plan from Shermer to kind of, it seems like the third receiver has gotten very little production most of the season, whether it's Treadwell, Floyd, Wright, whoever it is.
Right.
Is that
Floyd too
by design? Yeah. Is that by design, or is that the quarterback trusting the receiver more?
I think it's a little combination of both. He understands both of those guys are playing at a really high level right now, and I'm a firm believer of getting the ball in your playmaker's hands and just letting other guys naturally fit in where they get in, if that makes sense. He doesn't necessarily have to force the ball to Floyd or Treadwell when Diggs and Thielen have proven to be reliable to this point. So I don't think there's any reason to force feed them or force them into the game plan.
Absolutely. Right. All right, so we'll finish the discussion on film with this, and we'll answer some questions. I saw we got some thoughts on both the YouTube page, and I imagine Periscope is probably the same deal. So, Jordan, I want you to break this one down straight up. I'm not even going to say anything about it pre-snap. This is the play that Jordan put up on his Twitter account. I thought this is a play where going through the All-22 when I did the coverage chart earlier this week, I didn't see Diggs come flying open here initially. Jordan put it up and went back and looked at it, and this is just a fantastic, find by you. And this is just a great play to kind of, see some of the limitations to Case Keenum's game from a cerebral standpoint, because we've been pumping his tires a ton for making good reads and stuff. This is an example of one of the few times where he really blew coverage. So, Jordan, why don't you check this one out and let us know what's going down on this play.
Yeah, so what you have here is just a basic rollout here. So they fake zone, outside zone away, Kyle Rudolph, or let me back up. So they're running a levels concept here. It's a basic rollout concept. So what you have is you have a route attacking the deep part of the field, the intermediate part of the field, and the short part of the field. So obviously Diggs is running a clear out here. His whole objective on this play is just to clear out the zone in order for Thielen to come back across. And Kyle Rudolph running the slam flat route here down at the bottom. He's his check down here. And just how I was taught, if you get out clean on a rollout or a bootleg, you should read it high to low. So Keenum's first read here should be to Diggs, just in case he does get open. His second read should be to Thielen coming over on the over route. And his last check down read should be to Rudolph. And what you see Keenum do, he comes all the way back to his last option, which was David Morgan here. Who is also running the slam flat route. So they have two slam flat routes here, And, I don't know exactly how they were teaching Case's progression here. Maybe they were making him read it low to high. Some people teach it, or some coaches teach it, read it low to high. But I was taught if you get out clean on a bootleg or a rollout, read it high to low. Because what you see here is the Browns, or the free safety to the play side, he completely busts the coverage. And if Case was reading it high to low here, he would see Diggs running the go route.
And that's probably 6 points, like almost automatically. Yeah. If he literally, as Jordan said,
you can see Case's reaction.
That's touchdown.
You can see Case's reaction after the ball's completed. He puts his hands up like this, knowing he missed probably a touchdown there.
Yeah. So, Drew, obviously, George just did a phenomenal job once again breaking this down. But is there anything he missed here? Anything you want to clean up for him?
Well, I'm just going to kind of, again, bring a whole kind of season sense into this. But, like, it does seem like this is – it seems like he's being told to look short first on some of these rollouts. They're running a lot of rollouts since they have a running game now that you can run that off of and have some success. But it seems like a lot of times he's looking right at the tight end in the flat, or if maybe it's Thielen in the flat, or whoever it is running across the formation that way. It seems like, especially going to his right, that the first read is always Rudolph or Morgan in the flat there. So maybe I'm wrong, but it feels like Shermer and company are looking at him, and maybe they're not trusting him to throw deep. Maybe I don't know what it is, but it seems like more often than not, he's looking right at the tight end, and if the tight end's open, he's making that throw before even looking down the field. But that's just what I've kind of been thinking based on what I see.
And then, credit to Jason Brown for this too, because I think he talked about this on Twitter earlier this week, that cases became a little bit more contained, or maybe that's Pat Shermer calling more contained plays, but basically he hasn't been doing the quote YOLO case thing where he's bombing deep all the time. And, I feel like the interceptions that he has thrown this year, the two of them that were great interceptions, I think they're maybe a little bit in his head on this type of a play where it's like you see Diggs going, but you've got a safe option. And then you finally notice how wide open he is on this play, and you're just like, all right, maybe this is an example of a play where, the Vikings probably could have been a little bit more aggressive, case specifically. And that's kind of, for me, you think about a starting quarterback versus a backup quarterback. Starting quarterback's mindset is typically a little bit more confident, moving the ball down the field. Same could be said of the offensive coordinator calling plays for that type of quarterback. And in my opinion, that's just the difference between Bridgewater and Case Keenum for me. I also want to point out that I think that this is an example of a play where Pat Shermer set this one up earlier in the game by using a guy like Thielen, using a guy like Diggs as a decoy to set up Thielen, as we talked about earlier on a different play. This is just an example where Diggs is supposed to be the decoy. Obviously, he comes open, but Pat Shermer has the ability to set up both of his receivers off of the other receivers. So that's part of what makes it so great to have so many, very talented wide receivers on your team. That's just one benefit for Case Keenum. And then obviously if Teddy Bridgewater comes back, same benefit goes to him. So we got a little bit of time left here. So let's get into some of these thoughts and questions here that we've got on YouTube. Drew, if you see anything on Periscope, feel free to filter those in. But we'll start with this one here from Don Rio saying, guys, give me 3 good reasons to not start Teddy next week and 3 good reasons to start Teddy for next week. So why don't we split this up? Jordan, I'll let you give me the 3 reasons why he should start, and Drew, you're going to tell me the 3 reasons why he should not start, starting with you, Jordan.
Well, one reason is,
a lot of reasons.
I think, yeah, it is. I think upside is one of the biggest reasons. If Teddy can be the pre-injury form guy that we think he can be, I think the sky is the limit for this team. Just because, let's be honest, guys, BJ tweeted it earlier. If we get consistent quarterback play, this team can be a Super Bowl contender. And absolutely, I hate saying it. I hate looking forward because, all I can think about is the collapse from last season. But this team is built for success. And that was the biggest difference from this season to last season. There isn't a lot of injuries happening right now. And the way the offense and the defense is playing, I think this team can be a Super Bowl contender. Another reason, leadership and just charisma. And that's what Teddy Bridgewater brings to the table. As soon as this guy starts, they're going to want to run through a brick wall for this guy just because he was the franchise player, and just his story and everything that he stands for is going to make every person that's suiting up in that purple and gold play even harder, especially to protect him because they know his situation and what he's coming back from. So I think those are the biggest reasons why I think they should start Teddy Bridgewater.
All right, over to you, Drew. 2 compelling reasons to argue against, I suppose.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to refer to Matt Creer. By the way, it's his birthday today. I'm going to wish him happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Creer.
But he has, in Twitter conversations for several weeks now, he has mentioned this idea that you never mess with a winning streak. And the Vikings are on a four-game winning streak right now. I had to do the math there. A 4-game winning streak right now. And Case Keenum's the guy. He's doing just enough where, it's not really, they're not really stressful wins either to this point, except for that Bears game where Vikings are doing more than enough to win the game. The Vikings are scoring points too. I mean, 33 against the Browns, 23 against the Packers, 24 against the Ravens. It's not like they're not scoring points. And they're meeting that 20-point threshold every single week with Case Keenum. And I would also say right now that I think Case Keenum probably has a higher floor than Teddy does right now. There's just so much uncertainty with the rust and everything with Teddy that it's fair to say that I think Case, he's the same guy every week pretty much. You get a few really good throws and then some really bad throws that are mixed in there. But he generally has good pocket movement, generally makes good decisions, and generally leads your team to 20-plus points. And that generally is enough for the Vikings to win the game. So the argument for Case Keenum is that you keep the status quo because it's working right now. And I guess the argument then, as Jordan said, for Teddy would be, well, if you want to take that next step, you got to at some point take that risk of, putting a guy in who might be very rusty and might not work out as well as you think. But and then with Teddy, you have that upside where he could really lift his team to another level that would definitely make them a Super Bowl contender if they're not already with Case Keenum.
Absolutely. So there's definitely, an argument for both sides of the story here. That's why I try not to get into this type of debate, because I don't really think you can go wrong. And honestly, at the same time, being a Vikings fan, you got to think of it like, this is going to go wrong no matter what. So I'm under the opinion that just let Zimmer decide, because I think that he's probably got a little bit more information on the situation than us, and I'm okay with both quarterbacks. I'll ride or die with both these guys. I love them both, honestly. And this is coming from a guy that thought that Taylor Heineke should be this backup quarterback at the beginning of the year. So Case Keenum has really been impressive. Obviously, there are flaws to his game. We talked about those in the last 20 minutes or so here. We got a couple of follow-up questions here from Luke Reagens. Apologies if I'm butchering your name. And then DSR here on the YouTube feed. It's kind of a two-parter here. If Teddy does not play well at the end of the season, assuming he plays, that is, should the Vikings go after a quarterback in free agency? And then also someone said, DSR added, or should they go after one of the quarterbacks at the top of the draft? Since Jordan started last time, Drew, why don't you take a swing at this one?
Okay, this is embarrassing, but could you repeat that? I was reading a question on Periscope here that somebody sent. So.
If Teddy does not play well at the end, like if he does not play well, assuming that he does play, should the Vikings go after a quarterback in free agency or via the draft or both or whatever? What are your thoughts on that situation?
I mean, I guess you have to. If the thing is, I think this is tough because you're talking about Teddy, who's on a contract year, and you're talking about Sam Bradford, who's also on a contract year, and Bradford, given the injury history, you probably don't want to bring him back at this point. Case Keenum would then be your default starter. So yeah, I mean, you probably should go. If you don't plan on bringing Teddy back, you don't plan on bringing Sam Bradford back. You probably have to go into the draft thinking quarterback, and probably quarterback in the first round or with your first pick. And given that the Vikings don't have a lot of picks right now, that's not ideal. So, please, Teddy, hurry up and play well. That'd be great. We'd love to have you back. But, I guess that'd be the plan then, unless you want to roll with Case Keenum, which at this point isn't looking like the worst idea. But you want that upside at the quarterback position. So, I'd go quarterback in the draft.
Well, fortunately, we have we got Jordan here, who obviously doubles as a draft scout. So, Jordan, assuming the Vikings continue to play well, even though despite this type of situation, let's say Teddy Bridgewater doesn't play well, but the Vikings still make the postseason and are drafting in that 22 to 30-ish type range. Who are some options that you would look at the quarterback position, based on the scouting that you have done to date so far?
Yeah, so my opinion is no matter how Teddy plays this season, I think they should draft a quarterback just because we don't know what Case Keenum is going to do in the offseason. And, I mean, let's be honest, guys.
That's true.
Teams are hungry for quarterbacks, and some team might throw Mike Glennon money at Case Keenum this offseason.
Right. We talked about that in the last show. Yeah.
We don't know if that's going to happen, but it's a realistic possibility, especially with him playing at a high level the way he is. So I think they should draft somebody no matter what. A guy I think fits really well in Shermer's system is Baker Mayfield, surprisingly. Now, he probably won't go in that 22 to 30 range. He'll probably be in the top of the second round. So maybe they can trade back and get him just because they don't have the picks to accumulate up and get a Josh Rosen or a Sam Darnold or a Lamar Jackson, assuming they stay in the top 15 picks. So I think a guy like Baker Mayfield could fall right into their laps at the top of the second round or in the middle of the second round if they do want to trade back. So I think he's a very intriguing option, especially being in a spread system, which is very similar to what Pat Shurmur is running right now.
How do we feel
Absolutely.
about Kirk Cousins? Because we just got a comment on that in Periscope. There has been some ideas thrown around of Kirk Cousins coming to Minnesota in the event that, like as you said, Teddy's not the Vikings don't bring Teddy or St. Bradford back. How do we feel about that? I guess I want to hear how you guys feel because I'm not exactly on board with that. I'm not a huge Cousins fan, but how do you guys feel about that?
I probably like Kirk Cousins more than most people, honestly. I think I give him more credit than a lot of people do. But as far as the Vikings go, I think it's kind of for one, it's ironic that the Vikings have possibly four capable quarterbacks, and people, still want to talk about potentially bringing in Kirk Cousins. So I don't see it now. The fit, as far as a fit goes, I mean, Jordan, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that he would actually be a pretty solid fit to what Pat Shurmur likes to do for the most part. You see him go high-low. You see him being able to extend the play vertically with his legs. I see a lot of West Coast tendencies in what Jay Gruden tries to do out in Washington. So, I mean, I can see it working for Pat Shurmur, too. Again, Jordan, I guess what are your thoughts on, both the idea of Kirk Cousins being in a Vikings uniform and, hypothetically speaking, does he fit what the Vikings like to do?
Yeah, and I'm with you, BJ. I'm a huge Kirk Cousins fan. I think he doesn't get his due diligence as far as, his talent and how good he is with the Redskins. But as far as a fit with the Vikings, scheme-wise, yes, he would fit. But payroll-wise, I don't think he would.
Right.
I think he would end up hurting them in the long term because we're talking about contracts coming up for Anthony Barr, Kendricks, Diggs, and even Danielle Hunter here soon. And you're going to have to pay Kirk Cousins at least $25 million. In the next, 4 to 5 years, in my opinion. He's going to want to be a top.
Fair.
Yeah, and he's going – I love Rob Brzezinski, and he's a cap wizard, but I don't know how he would finagle that into the cap room situation and still be able to pay those guys. So a lot of fans are wanting Kirk Cousins, but I just don't think it's a realistic possibility. Now, I do have an alternative, and it's a long shot, but how about Drew Brees? I mean,
we just got a comment in the YouTube chat again from our guy Lucas Regions saying Drew Brees as well. So it's funny that you bring that up because that was going to be the next talking point.
Won't he be more expensive though?
Well,
but he's more worth the money too, right?
He wouldn't be his contract wouldn't be as long. I mean, Drew Brees probably would play another 2 to 3 years, and we already have a roster that's built to win now, and he would step into a great situation. It would be like the Brett Favre situation all over again, in my opinion. Now, I don't know if Drew Brees would play at a high level but I mean, we talk about having a franchise quarterback or a franchise stopgap or a short-term guy. I think Drew Brees could be that type of guy, but it's a huge long shot.
Yeah, I'm with you that it would be, a best case scenario, obviously. No pun intended again. But it's just like that's a dream come true for me. I've talked about this every year, once a year. Drew Brees is an intangibly perfect quarterback. He's one of my favorite players of all times. And honestly, if he hadn't done what he did to the Vikings in the 2009 NFC Championship, I'd like him even more. So how perfect of a fit is he? I mean, you can't find a much better fit. But is it realistic? I think we're dreaming, honestly. I mean, I think we're clear across the board. We can all admit that. But man, Drew, over to you, I guess, on Drew Brees. If that were to happen, I guess what's your reaction to that breaking Schefter tweet if Drew Brees signs with the Vikings?
Well, Drew Brees is obviously one of the most efficient passers of all time. So I think just from that standpoint, you got to be excited about it and what he can do with the weapons already in place in Minnesota. I mean, Stephon Diggs, Adam Thielen, you guys all know who those people are. But I do wonder a little bit about that price tag because it's these extensions that are going to happen that Jordan said. I do think putting a lot of eggs in that basket it'd be a risk, I still think. But obviously that'd be a tremendous upgrade from what I think of bringing Kirk Cousins into the fold. Obviously Drew Brees would be an upgrade over anybody at this point except for, like 3 quarterbacks in the league right now.
Absolutely. All right. So Jordan has his next spot to get over to. So it's time to wrap up the show for the week. Jordan, why don't you let the guys know where they can find you? Obviously, you can get more tremendous draft analysis from Jordan on Vikings territory, but he also does plenty of work elsewhere. So, Jordan, let him know where they can get you on Twitter, wherever else you may be, and give me your sign out.
Yeah, so you guys can follow me at JReid Draft Scout. That's JREID Draft Scout on Twitter. Doing a lot of work for Vikings Territory and climbingthepocket.com. So make sure you guys go over there and just check out some fantastic work, myself and a lot of other guys are doing, as well as Viking Territory.
Absolutely. So once again, thanks to Jordan for being here. I mean, speaks for itself, the type of work that he puts into it. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys, he just broke down those plays better than Drew and I could have. So thanks for being here. It means a lot to us. It means a lot to the people watching. I'm sure everyone learned something today. As far as, our regular sign out goes, you can find us at vikingsterritory.com. As always, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. Hit the subscribe button on YouTube if you haven't already. And these shirts, we never mentioned this. We sell shirts on Amazon. So if you want a Vikings Territory shirt, you can get one there. There's an About the Labor one. There's a couple Moss ones. There's some cool stuff on there. Brett Anderson, our designer, does a fantastic job with that. So maybe check that out as well. And yeah, we'll be back, I guess, next Sunday with another pregame show. And as far as the About the Labor podcast goes, Drew and I will be recording tonight for tomorrow morning. So we will catch you guys sooner rather than later. So thanks for watching today, folks, and we will catch you guys later on. All right, Jordan, you can hit the stop. Oh, we'll just do that. And